practice for 25 years. Prior to that, I was in private practice for about 5 years. I am, as Nate said, seeking the appointment for Sessions Court Judge, Division 4. The Honorable Judge Jackson is retiring after many years of excellent service on the bench, and I hope I have the opportunity to continue with his legacy. Just a little bit about me. I am a lifelong Tennessean. I lived in Knoxville as a child. Then I've moved all around the state. I've lived in all 3 grade divisions. I came back to Knoxville permanently in 1986 to attend UT undergraduate school. I got a degree in psychology. After that, I took a little time off, worked in a home, a group home, a residential group home for mentally and physically disabled adults. After doing that, I went to law school. 3 years later, I was licensed to practice in 1995, which means I've been practicing for 30 years. It's a long time. Again, the first 5 years was in private practice. I did a little bit of civil litigation. I did domestic work. I did criminal defense work, juvenile defense work, and I also was guardian ad litem for adults and dependent and neglected children. I had the opportunity in 2000 to join the Knox County DA's office. The Honorable and General Randall Nichols hired me, and I was very privileged to take that job. My initial time at the DA's office was in Sessions Court. I was down there for many years. I alternated between misdemeanor, DUI, and felony. I was assigned to each of those. I also was a floater at one point, which means that I showed up at work and didn't know where I was going to be assigned. So I was given a file and said, do it, which I did for a while. That was interesting, but taught me to think on my feet. Then in, I don't know exactly what year it was, I did a little bit of time in the grand jury, several months prosecuting cases in the grand jury. And then I was assigned to Division I criminal court as a table attorney, which means I was doing general prosecution of crimes that were not assigned to the specialized units in our office. I was practicing in front of Judge Sword, who now of course is at the Court of Appeals. In 2014, General Allen was elected, and she approached me to start the elder abuse unit. And my response was, great, I'm a team player, I'll do whatever. What's elder abuse? I really didn't know what I was getting into, but I was very interested in it and thought, well, I'm not going to reinvent the wheel. I'm going to look around the state and see what other jurisdictions are doing. Turns out they weren't doing anything. So I didn't reinvent the wheel, I invented the wheel. So I began working outside of the state of Tennessee to start looking at what other jurisdictions were doing well in other states, and started working towards building that special unit. During that time, I realized that the laws that we were operating with to prosecute elder abuse, and elder abuse is financial exploitation, abuse, and neglect. And it's not just elders, it's also vulnerable adults. And you can be elderly or vulnerable, or elderly and vulnerable. But we were not doing a good job of identifying those cases and prosecuting them. Part of the problem was that the laws that were in effect for us to work with were just not the tools we needed. They were groundbreaking in the 70s when they were originally enacted, but they didn't provide us with what we needed. So I immediately identified that that was a big problem with prosecuting any kind of case for elders and vulnerable adults. So thankfully, General Allen allowed me to work with other folks around the state, other DAs, elected DAs, and a few assistants. We created a committee to start working on rewriting all of those laws. And they, at the time, they lived over in Title 68 of the code, which is the Adult Protective APS Department of Human Services section. It wasn't even in the criminal codes, most of it. So we started working on that, and over a period of 3 years, we wrote all the statutes that are currently on the books in the criminal code sections of TCA now. And that took 3 years for us to do. It's harder than you would expect, writing legislation. You have to consider what effects you have on the other parts of the code. Unintended consequences are a big deal. We worked with the legislature, and I'm very thankful for their support in passing that legislation. We did financial exploitation first, and then abuse and neglect after that, and it took 3 years that those laws are on the books, and that's one of the proudest things that I can say about my legal career. In addition to that, I realized when I started working in elder abuse that the major stakeholders, the prosecutors, the APS folks, and law enforcement just were not communicating. They were not talking about these cases. Referrals were coming in, but they weren't going anywhere. So we pulled all the stakeholders together. About 50 of us in law enforcement, APS, and DAs met, and we came up with an MOU and decided that we were going to set some rules, and we were going to start meeting regularly. In Knox County, it was 2 times a month. And we were going to review all the referrals of elder abuse that came into Knox County. We were not going to ignore this anymore. So I came up with the idea of calling it VAPIT. It's not VAPIT, it's VAPIT, Vulnerable Adult Prosecution and Investigation Team. If I'd known it was going to be a statewide mandated thing, I would have maybe come up with a different name, but I didn't anticipate it having the wings that it did, but it's now mandated across the state of Tennessee, and every jurisdiction is required to have these meetings now to facilitate cooperation between agencies and stakeholders. And I'm also very proud of that. While I was in elder abuse, we also, I was on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for about 7 years. I was the lead supervisor. I had other folks that came in and out of that unit. We trained over 1,000 law enforcement officers in Knox County over a period of a year. We had a grant with KPD, and APS was involved as well. And 1 day a week, we went out and spent an entire day training 1,000 officers, well, more than 1,000 officers. So the intent of that was to identify and be able to better prosecute those types of cases. I'm very proud of this work. After being in the elder abuse unit, I was reassigned to the DUI Sessions Court unit. I've been down there for about 4 years. It's a fast-paced, heavy, stressful caseload. Since I've been down there, DUI arrests have almost doubled, which is, part of that's probably because we were coming off of COVID, but also a lot of law enforcement has really started focusing on that again. It's unfortunate that we have as many DUIs as we do. But I'm also very thankful that we're making those arrests. It's different in DUI than it used to be. I've worked in DUI about 15 years ago, and most of the cases that we would see were, you know, when the bars let out, folks went home, they were drunk, we were arguing over how many times they went across the fog line, if it's a good stop, a bad stop. Now we're seeing a lot of drug use. It's scary. Fentanyl, heroin, people passed out while they're driving their car with a needle in their arm. It's scary stuff, and it's important stuff. So in the DUI unit, like I said, I prosecute anywhere from misdemeanor DUI first all the way up to felonies. I'm on call for that unit as well. I assist officers. It's about once a month for a week. We're on call 24/7. If officers have questions about their cases or search warrants, they call us. I've had evenings where I've gotten 4 phone calls in a night. I'll be on the phone with one officer and another officer comes in. So even at night, we're doing fast and furious work. I'm still in that unit. I'm happy to be in that unit, and I feel like that the skills that I've learned in all the years of prosecution have really given me a unique opportunity to prosecute a wide variety of crimes, anything from traffic offenses all the way up to 8 felonies. So I feel like I've really got a good broad base of knowledge on the laws that we're having to deal with at Sessions Court. Also, of course, the private practice, I did civil work, and I feel like I haven't done it in a while, but I can jump back into it fairly quickly. I've also been involved in the community over the years. I'm a member of the Junior League. I was on the board of the Junior League many years ago. I was on the board of CASA, which is Court-Appointed Special Advocate for Children. I was also the president of that board. Also served on the board of directors of the Knoxville Montessori School and the YWCA. I support the Knoxville Museum of Art, Clarence Brown Theater, the Botanical Gardens, UT Trial Gardens, some other things. I feel like it's really important to give back to the community. I have been here since the late 80s, and I have gotten so much from this community. I've gotten a great career, a great family, and I really feel that it's important to give back to the community that's given me so much. Speaking of family, I have 3 children. They're all adults. They're all doing well, at least today they are. My oldest is a lawyer. She's married to a lawyer. She lives in Virginia. My middle child is also married. That was Catherine and Jay. My middle child, Sarah Jane, is married to Chris, and they live in North Carolina. And then my son, Andy, also lives in Virginia, and he is currently in Zimbabwe working. So I'm always a little worried about the black mambas. But so far, so good. I also have 2 dogs and 3 cats that keep me busy, and I enjoy walking those guys and hiking and gardening. I feel like I am uniquely qualified for the position of Sessions Court Judge for the reasons I told you earlier. I have a wide range of experience, both in criminal and civil law. I have a wide base of knowledge of the law. I am used to carrying a very heavy caseload in a very stressful environment every day. A Sessions Court Judge needs those skills. I feel like that I try to approach and aspire to treat every person that I work with respect. I feel like I've worked with a lot of law enforcement, lots of defense attorneys, lots of prosecutors, and I try to respect everyone that's around me. We always, aspire for that. So I hope that I have the opportunity to serve in that capacity as a Sessions Court Judge and continue with the legacy of fairness and wisdom that Judge Jackson gave to Knox County when he was on the bench. Thank you.